It's Mr. Lehlohonolo Mpshe,
Yes.
and you are the CEO of ATARAH Solutions.
Yes.
I think the best way to start is where we look at what does ATARAH Solutions do, the company, and just give me a little bit of background on the company.
Okay. What we do as ATARAH Solutions, we endeavor to automate operations for trucking companies. And when we started, we were looking at SMMEs. But then when we entered the space, we saw that they don't really understand the solutions we offer. So what we offer is end-to-end transport management systems. So it's your TMS, where TMS assists you in planning or optimizing your routes. You can connect it. In other words, as you route your plan, select whichever trucks, best position truck, you are able to manage that. Nearest truck, this truck is coming, it's nearer to meet whatever ETA. So that's what a TMS system does. And routes out the best route to take, shortest distance, things like that. That's what a TMS system does. And it is evolved to what we into the fuel management system.
Okay.
As well as your trip sheets, right? So it's so comprehensive, TMS systems, that you understand that fatigue from drivers, because they still ride on books or timesheets and so forth. You can automate that process.
Wow.
Can automate that process, that they don't have to, because each time they click to say what they're doing, it's connected to the GPS, so they're at that particular place, to a point where when they refuel, the data is there. So TMS systems collect the entire data of your operations through invoicing. So you we integrate or connect with whoever your financial system is. We're able to integrate into that system. Any TMS system that is good should be able to do that. Then there's your TMS telematics. Telematics is incorporated with your tracking of a company, but it has evolved to a point where there's video telematics. So telematics, it incorporates the truck itself, hash braking, hash turning, how you drive. All those things are incorporated within telematics. And now with the event of video telematics, you can see when a driver is getting tired, and it can be alerted. Then that's essentially within the transport space. That's what we offer. Then we go to access control or visitor management at the gate, not inside the building, but at the gate, whether it's a warehouse, it's a mining house. So we manage and schedule trucks that will come in or people coming in, so that visibility to know who's at your premises. So you see the devices you see at the States where they scan your license and
Yes.
we offer the device and the software. We're even able to block people. So then we enter into the warehouse management space. So essentially, I've said quite a lot, but essentially that's what we do.
Wow. And just taking it back a bit, before, I would say probably 10 years ago, were these systems already as popular? How did you get into that space? Most people, when we think transport, we think, I just want to own a truck. That is my measure of success within. I'll start as a driver until I own a truck. Where did you see the need for this, for the type of product that you are offering? How did you get into it?
It's I don't know, I could call it tragic, but COVID came.
Oh.
COVID changed all our lives. So I used to work for a company, a transport company. So I was the data analyst there. So they had a TMS system. I think they had it for about 4 years or 5 years, and it was just not working. So when I came in, within a year, I helped them optimize it and help run it efficiently. So the trick in adopting a system is not just giving your employees a system.
Yes.
There needs to be an adoption by your employees to embrace the system that you are introducing to them. When employees embrace it, then the system will work. So unfortunately, COVID hit, I got retrenched.
Yes.
Then I said, I've prior to me working there, I used to have a business, quite failed, as an entrepreneur. So I said, I'm not going to look for work. I'm going back into entrepreneurship. I spoke to the guys that I was managing their TMS system to say, I would like to sell your system. I understand it. I helped you optimize it to where it is, because even they themselves were fairly new into the space. So, because I understood the industry, I studied logistics, I helped them optimize it to a level where it can go into market. So, 2010, October, not 2010, 2020, it was 2020, right?
2020.
October, that's when I got retrenched. Then went to the space of entrepreneurship within the TMS space. But going through the process of looking for clients and so forth, you understood that the landscape it was not just about the TMS system. People wanted to track their trucks. People wanted to see videos on what the driver is doing. While moreover that, people want to see who's coming to their premises at warehouses. So that's how I got into the space. I as a data analyst, that's how I got into the space and loved the industry, and I never looked back.
Wow. And it seems like data analytics has always been, in fact, it seems to me data analytics fits into almost every single corporate sphere. Are you limited to just transport within your line of business?
No, not at all, not at all. So, but essentially, I focus with the visitor management system. I focus on mining houses, warehouses, right? So that within the mining industry, it's about scheduling trucks that come in. So you need to know who's coming into your premises. We're able to scan foreign driver licenses, barcodes, and so forth to manage that entire process. Then the weigh bridge, we have a solution for the weigh bridge.
What is a weigh bridge?
You see, when you go through, normally when you go via the highway and you see trucks being pulled aside,
yes,
where they weigh, essentially they want to weigh whether you're weighing loaded the correct load.
Oh.
Even when you enter into warehouses, when you go through, they would weigh, they want to see, because the issue is overloading of trucks, right?
Okay.
So when you overload a truck, I love that question. So essentially, TMS systems or technology assist with safety as well.
Okay.
So if your truck is overloaded, can you imagine when you hit the brakes, it doesn't stop because it's overloaded. So it takes already a truck takes time to stop. But if it's overloaded, it's very hard for it to stop. So that is the essence of always load the correct load. So with systems, with technology, it helps the driver to load accurately what they need to, and the weigh bridges are intended for that. So we incorporate the weigh bridge and the devices that driver would have so that we eliminate the paper trail. So it's automated, it's on cloud. So when you scan the barcode on the weigh bridge slip, it's automatically on cloud, and you can see it live.
Wonderful. Now I want us to go to, this is for me is going to be almost like a lecture, but one of the things that I've said repeatedly when I speak to transport business people is that it's amazing how much the audience or listeners, when we think transport, we just think the road, the cars that are on the road, and tires. And so with what you and I are going to speak about today, I think it speaks a lot on digital transformation and how digital has actually found its way into all aspects of business. And that will bring me to my first question on how do we select the best route planning system? Can you just explain to me a little bit about that?
So it is to see what when we go to a client, it's about what do they need. So you can't, because there's quite a number, so you can't just propose any solution that you think is best. Firstly, you need to understand what the client requires, right? How many trucks do they have? What type of clients? For instance, let's say a SPV, it's a transport company, right? They would need a specific type of a routing system.
Okay.
So because of the danger and the type of what they hold or transport. So in terms of which vehicle, how to route it out, versus a Superlink, a company that owns Superlinks, long distance trucks, or short distance trucks. So it depends on the how large is your corporate or how small is your corporate, and the type of vehicles, what you load as well. So such things you play part. You don't just because I offer you a system and you're happy with that.
Wow.
It needs to incorporate with your pay points, what you need, what's best for you. Essentially, we look at what the operation is like, then come up with the best solution for you.
So it's as if you would do, your product would obviously be customized to fit what that actual company needs in terms of its size,
Yes.
where it travels. This would obviously mean that, or am I correct in saying you would always have to go back, and once you discover or once you've done some research, you'll always need to go back and sort of now create a product that is going to specifically suit that corporate before they buy into it?
Not necessarily create it. You can create it if they need a specific thing, right? But generally speaking, because there's quite a number of these systems out there.
Okay.
But there's a generic base or you can start with. Then, in accordance to what they would need, then you would it's either it's already within the system, your system, that you offer that, then you just add a few things on top of that.
Okay.
And otherwise, others would from scratch start something altogether. Because if you notice with your Smart and all these guys, they don't necessarily NEMPAC, BEFCAN, they don't necessarily own trucks.
Yes.
So right, but so now they would outsource trucks and things like that. So your system as well needs to be able to interlink with, if they want to see what's going on within their loads. So it's things like that. You don't necessarily, because it's expensive. If I come to you, you have a company, trucking company, and I start something from scratch, it's going to be expensive for you, and you don't want that. So I must come up with a solution already that's there operating. Then we just tweak it there and there in accordance to your needs.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then my second question would speak to those layers of security. Well, it's a security document management system. What does that speak to?
It speaks to, remember, it speaks to, it's finance basically. It's money. Not just anyone can see your documents, can see your rates, can see your clients' personal documents and so forth. So any technical investment or tech has to have security, cybersecurity entrenched in it. Because other than that, with POPI as well, right? All those things are involved. You can't just come up with a system that with no cybersecurity anyone can come. It's so when we started, we talked, because you are able to see your revenue within a TMS system because of EPODs and so forth. Now, can you imagine anyone can come and see how much you charge for a particular route? So you know that your Coke or whoever you charge Coke for this particular route to Durban so much. Not anyone can see that. No, not anyone can see that you make 10 million per month on a particular truck, particular load. This is how much you make. So cybersecurity and the POPI Act plays in part in all these things. That security it's vital.
It's vital.
It's vital.
And cybersecurity as a study, as a subject, how important is it nowadays?
So meaning for a young person or anyone
for a young person, or even let's say someone who's been working in the industry for a while, they would like to upskill. How advisable is, or how important is cybersecurity as a subject to upskill yourself?
I would say it is. For instance, on my side, I haven't studied cybersecurity because I have guys who deal in that space. But even for me, it will be something interesting to study, right? So any advancement, self-advancement, it's a great thing. So being in that space, it's for instance, in my other line of work, I am a facilitator of young people.
Okay.
So I teach business admin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you try to tell young people to say, go in the line of tech, of technology, cybersecurity, and so forth, so that that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So never neglect the space of cybersecurity, of tech, of growing as an individual in that space, because you need. So just to digress a bit. So if you are a company in the transport space, and you don't have you don't have data, you don't have tech, you are behind. You honestly are behind. You will never get to the guys that are advanced in this space. You'll never get clients. So if you're an SMME, invest in technology for your company as much as you need to invest in your staff to learn these things. So can you imagine you send one of your staff to learn cybersecurity, to be entrenched in your company? Things like that are important.
I think it speaks to it does speak to skills development, and just to digress on that note, skills development.
Yes.
I'm looking at the type of product offering that you are offering. There's few people. Well, listeners might be listening and saying, "This sounds very interesting. What type of skills do I need for this? Do I need to go study IT?" Just looking at route planning systems and what do you call it? Security that's provided by document management systems. What type of skills would one need to educate themselves on?
That's the beauty of the era we live in, right? I never studied any of these things. I studied logistics. I understand the industry itself. But along the way, as you grow in your workspace, in your career, you find opportunities to upskill yourself. It may not necessarily be me going to school to vet or anything, study a particular, but you gain experience. So I never studied tech. But along with the knowledge and experience I've gotten through the industry, I'm now in the space of technology, which I understand thoroughly well. And you employ people who are better than you, obviously.
Yes.
You can't be the smartest one in the room.
You're right.
You can't. You need people who are smarter than you. So that's the space I'm in. But generally, it is important that people are upskilled. So the space of a transporter or a transporting company is quite linear. In other words, you have a driver, so you would have your general staff, right? You have a driver, you have admin, and you have management.
Yes.
Then you have the CEO. So necessarily you can't really, it's very hard to grow if you are not a Unitrans or THL or all these big guys, but you are a normal transporter. But in that space still, whether you are in the credit department and so forth, there's still space for you to learn these things so that you can advance. Like I said, technology is required in your company. So if you don't, why outsource people from the outside? Why not train people that you have already? You know them, they're reliable. Upskill them. As much as I said, there's management, there's drivers, admin, and management. You can be horizontal and say, now you're gonna insource all these things rather than, I'm biting myself here, but rather than hiring me or bringing me into your company,
yes,
you can, because that's what big companies do. Your big trucks, your Unitrans, and all these guys, they have their own software developers in-house. So the only thing they would outsource, it would be your video telematics, things like that. But generally, any software, it would be in-house if you are big. So even as an SMME, there are guys who do that, where they insource and train, upskill people and send them to school to be developers and so forth, so that they have an in-house software solution. So possibilities are endless in learning these things.
It sounds to me as if for SMEs to be competent and to be competitive, skills development is always one way to look within internally, but also I think with time we open up to digital. There was always the false narrative amongst workers that technology is going to come and take our jobs. How do you deal with something like that? Have you ever dealt with something like that, maybe in the workplace or in the corporate environment, where there is sort of a lack of interest towards technology because we think it's going to take our jobs?
All the time. It's my space all the time.
How do you deal? How do you
So,
advise?
so let me start when I first started doing this space, when I was a data analyst and compliance officer. So now, for the solution to work, you need to buy in from the drivers. Other than the controllers that admin staff management, those guys come secondary. The people who break or make the solution is the drivers.
Tell me more about that.
The drivers are the ones who are going to use this particular solution, right? Because whether it's a TMS system, remember with e-mobility or so normally they would have a device in the car, in the truck or a tablet, whatever it may be. Even if there's a camera in the cab, the focus is on the driver. Even that 3 million, 4.5 million truck is the driver who's driving that particular truck. So all transporters must understand the focus needs to be on the driver. The upliftment of skills, the driver needs to be happy. So firstly, that's how I enter it. Make the driver understand that this is to their benefit. Because the thing that they are scared of most drivers is that when you talk about trip sheets, now they're going to start augmenting my pay. They have access to now, because when you write your own trip sheet, you write your own hours. This is where I went. These are my hours, breaks. I'm the driver writing this thing, and you can't change it. Now, when you're saying I'm going to do this on a phone, on a tablet, how do I know that management is not gonna do things? So that's the first thing that you need to reassure them that there's nothing like that. So once they are sure about that you're not going to dock anything on their pay and it's reliable, is to help them, then you can start about training. So that this is going to help you optimize you as an individual, your route, all these things. So then you can go to the admin to say, admin, this will make things easier for you, because most guys still use Excel. So capturing, imagine a driver goes to Cape Town. It's not a one-day trip, right? So you're still waiting for them to come through with, and most likely how many stops did they make? And normally it's not a one-way, a two-way trip. They may pass to another, they may come a week or 2 weeks later. So that proof of delivery, comes back to you in 2 weeks or in a week's time. And sometimes they forget, they change trucks, whatever. You're missing out. You are not able to invoice someone because that proof of delivery, things like that. So that's how you approach it to the admin. Wow. To say the documentation won't be lost, right? You start with the driver. Now you come to the admin to say life will be easier for you to manage. You're not going to lose your job. No system is going to come, no robot is going to come, and AI is going to come and do what you do. We're just helping you optimize your systems, your work, right? So that you do not over, because it's rough in the transport sector. So imagine, as a controller, you must plan routes, you have trip sheets, you must plan drivers. There's a warehouse calling you that the truck has not arrived. There's a truck that just crashed. This is on the controller. He still needs to do all these things. So when the documentation part of it is controlled and managed, they're able to be a controller and manage trucks, manage the client, and so forth. Management, when they want reports and so forth, they just go on the system. They don't call the controller. The controller does not need to phone the driver. There's a system where you just automatically press a button and you can talk to all the drivers without any announcement. Whenever an EPOT is signed, live, it's with you. So that's how you embrace even management. Unfortunately, with disruption, they will see discrepancies. So the operations manager will be the first one to get a smack, because they will ask, why? Because now management is able to see everything. Now it's a matter of one version of the truth for everyone. Remember, there's the client, there's the customer, there's the operations department, control operations manager, there's the workshop, there's the drivers, there's the driver trainer. So all these things are done in silos if you don't have a system, right? You must bring paperwork. So, but now when you have a system in place, if a driver said there's a crack on the window, on the screen, there's something is wrong with this. Normally what happened is the workshop will say, the driver or the controller never told me. The driver says, but I did. What's the proof that he did? So with this, my thing is this one version of the truth. Real time, you can see that the driver did report that there's something wrong with the truck. Management can see, workshop can see, date, stamp, all these things. So similarly with everything else within the operations, everyone can see at one particular point. That's how you embrace the corporate, the company, to understand that it will assist you. No one will lose, because right now there's a client I was busy with, talking to the CEO, and I started talking with the guys first. Now it's I think we're heading into 3 months. So when I talk to the CEO, he says, she says, no, these guys were afraid that they're going to lose their jobs.
It's a serious thing.
It is.
So you have to train on benefits of the tech.
Exactly.
Great stuff. Mobile technology trends to keep up within supply chain, and I think that's interesting. You probably have mentioned some of it. Where do we see it going? How does mobile tech impact supply chain?
It's integrated. It's literally from the warehouse, the truck, office space. It's integrated. So the entire supply chain process, it's knit together. So that's where it's not where it's going, it's where it is. So even if you are a small entity coming through as a warehouse or so forth, there are solutions out there catered that are cost effective for you. So it's not about where it's going, it's where it is currently. With AI, with blockchain and so forth, these are things that are here and that we need to embrace. So it is essential for corporate, for SMMEs to understand that all these things are interlinked. Because remember, when I was doing a study about this and so forth, the beginning of TMS started with the barcode in the 1970s.
Tell me more about the barcode. I remember the barcode is those lines.
Those lines, those 13 lines and so forth. And they're still here, right?
Yes.
They're still here. So can you imagine in the 70s, that's where it started, where just to manage inventory, right? So that's where it started. So now from there, inventory management, then comes your ERP systems, because now you are able to manage this inventory system via barcode, right? But now you must have a system within the warehouse to manage these things. Then the warehouse systems come through. Okay. And this would be around the 1980s and things like that. Now, that is why never despise small beginnings. Something small interlinks with others and it grows. So now you have these ERP systems going on, then the emergence of the TMS system, transport management system, because now the warehouse are managing things, but now everybody needs to see what's going on with the load along the route.
Yes.
So that's how it emerges in there. Then comes your TMS systems. Within that, it grows to telematics, things like that. That is when you saw your courier companies having your track and trace. But now, innovation needs to happen there, because when a courier guy comes to you, he tells you, I'm at your doorstep. You're at work. They said it will come in 2 days. In 2 days' time,
yes.
Somewhere you must make a plan. So already there's innovation is required. There's a space for somebody to enter that space where, no, a courier company can come to you or knock to you and say, I'll deliver in between Monday and Tuesday. You have a life, right? So that's how it evolved to where we are now with blockchain, with AI, where best route, best driver, where fatigue you can, but just by the eyes and face and fatigue. So those are how it's evolving and where it is, and then great things are coming in the space.
Wow. What can you tell me about the future of transport management systems? What can we expect?
That's a difficult question.
But I would imagine you would know these things, like what's coming up. It's such an interesting field because we come in with limited. I think, especially in the space of South Africa, we are a very excited nation about new things. However, I like to get to the bottom of it. What can we expect in terms of what is it that maybe we may not be aware of that is going to play a big role in transport management systems? Yeah, in the space.
So for instance, right now there are companies that have embedded telematics within their trucks. In other words, I don't want to say a brand,
Yes.
but literally there are companies already. When you buy the truck from them, it's incorporated in there.
What are telematics? Just for those that don't understand them, the full meaning
Of telematics.
Yes, what is that? What does it speak to?
Telematics speaks to your driver management. In other words, it incorporates the truck itself, the truck itself. So you track the truck. It's data about the truck. Let me put it that way. So how the driver drives, how long did the driver drive, how did he turn on a particular curve?
Wow.
Is he hash braking, speed? In other words, everything that incorporates the truck itself with the GPS system. Where is it located? How long did he stay there? Which routes did he take? You can even, let's say this building, it's a warehouse. You can tell whether a driver went to that particular corner, then drove to that particular corner, stayed for whatever long, then went back, and now there's a client that we're showing that to say, look, your driver went to this particular point 3 times, right? Then he had to go back to pour petrol. Prior to him moving, he could have poured petrol. Then go to the clients. So it's waste of time and money that he went to where he needed to go, but then, forgot, I need to pour petrol, then he goes back to pour petrol, then. So telematics can show you all of those things. But then you need somebody to interpret it for you, but other clients make it easier for you to see. You don't need to outsource someone to interpret the data. The data is clean with graphs, so you can see exactly on a high level, even drill into specifics about a specific driver, a specific truck. Essentially, that's what telematics is.
Great. Cutting costs. I was going to speak about this. This obviously speaks to the benefits of having such integrated tech systems. What would you say are some of the major ways when it comes to cutting costs with transport management systems? How can small and big businesses leverage?
So, firstly, it's about managing time, right? So when you are able to give a report to your client to say, we are on average 5 to 8 hours at your warehouse, standing time. So with tech, you are able to give data reports for the client and yourself to know where are the loopholes when it comes to warehouses, offloading, standing time, and so forth. Remember, hash breaks, overloading, all these things. If you overload, or we have a particular truck does not load the correct material or so forth, it eats up on petrol as well. Remember, there's fuel management systems. There's systems that can assist you with tire wear to see how. Remember, when you go, let's say you go to a mine, for instance, you make your rates, costing, and so forth, and you don't include the fact that the road is harsh, and you'll be loading something heavy, platinum, coal, what. So the likelihood is your fuel and tires will be a burden to you in that particular route, and you didn't incorporate your costs in that. So with cost help you with systems tire management to reduce how the driver drives. It helps you because the way the driver drives, speeding, overtaking, hash brake, all these things, it's up on your diesel. So that's how we reduce on time, spending time, on your fuel, on the way your driver drives. The better your driver drives, the better you save costs. not losing documentation, your EPODs and so forth. Remember, I told you about the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then
Yes.
you are able to invoice faster. And you don't lose documentation. So you literally see what's going on within your operation, where are the deficiencies within your operation, and able to quickly cut, fix. That's how costs are managed. Then there's improvements. That's seeing the reality, not your perception of what's going on in your business. Seeing the reality of your company. That's what TMS and telematic systems do.
Wow. All right. I was at the Transport Forum, I think 2 weeks ago, and I was fortunate to have a conversation with some professors from the University of Johannesburg. They were talking about the fact that we need to catch up to technology because it seems like it's here already. And like before, people you would need to study for something that's been there, for a long time. Technology has just been something that we are all accessing and using. But when it comes to skills, in terms of I'm looking at young people today. What would you advise in terms of specifically that speaks to most of these above mentioned that we've spoken about? A young person who's listening would say, this is all very interesting. Do I go the IT route? I've never worked in the transport industry. Do I study logistics? How do I approach transport today? Because it's obviously different from how it was back then, where you'd need to maybe study logistics, but save enough money so that you can one day buy a truck. Now it's the truck, but with all these type of systems. How can we upskill if we've been working, or if we're still in tertiary or deciding what career path to take? What would you advise or encourage the type of subjects that can give a holistic experience and skill into the world of transport and logistics?
I won't say specifically I would advise about specific subjects to study, right? But I would go this route. For instance, I'll digress a bit. It's not just about, as much as I know you're saying tech because I'm the tech guy, right? But remember, within the supply chain of transport, it's not, as you said, it's not just about owning the truck. It's the tech, the TMS system, and also for that I'm talking about. But there's somebody who supplies tires, right? There has to be somebody who supplies the tires. There has to be somebody who supplies the curtains. The curtains are the ones on the trailer, right?
You're right.
Somebody, so there's auxiliary features that need the seats. Somebody, there's a bed in a truck for a driver. Somebody has to supply that particular bed, and they're aware of quite quickly, right? There's quite a number of things. Somebody must supply diesel to this person. It's not necessarily engine or so forth, right? So it's not specifically to say you can have this niche market, you want tech. There's an array of avenues you can, but I normally say to learners, to students, it is not necessarily about choosing a specific course or so forth. Firstly, if I am interested to go into the logistics or supply chain space, join an association. Go to AWISCA, go to SILTS, go to CPEX, right? Those are associations within the supply chain space. So some there's a student, and there's an affiliate, student, professional, entrepreneur, and so forth. So you can, even before you go to tertiary while you're still at high school, can be an affiliate. Because I'm interested to be in the supply chain space. You join in a WISCA, for instance, where you'll have mentors, you have people who should tell you about the entire scope of the industry, what the civics or sales. You'll have people who are, because these are professionals in this particular industry. You rub shoulders with these particular people, and they show you the broader spectrum of the industry. Then it's easier for you when you go to tertiary, for instance, that, okay, I saw, even if you're in tertiary, you are a student affiliate, whether it's 650 per annum or 400, whatever the amount is. It's just per annum. And you are exposed to the world of supply chain. Professionals are here, you go to conferences, you network. Because remember, you getting that qualification is not the end of it. It's not the qualification that's going to get you that job. It's the people you encounter. Somebody's going to give you a break. And where do you find those people? When you are at Alexandra, Tembisa, Mabupan. You don't know them. You go to TUT, you go to VERDS, UJ, with the hope of submitting your CV and what's going to happen next. But when you affiliate yourself with these professionals, and they know that, oh, it's not only studying logistics, procurement management, and we see that you're involved, you come to conferences, when there's webinars, you are there. So call me once you I have a learnership for you, I have an internship for you once you're done or on your second year. That's how you study these things and go into corporate, rather than you first finish, then you start looking for a job or networking. Throughout your high schooling and tertiary, you associate with professionals. Facebook is Facebook. Go on LinkedIn. So that is why I say I can't specifically say study a specific course or subject, but I would say rather affiliate with professionals. Then don't give you a better light to where you would want to be. For instance, me and my wife have said to, they're still young, still under 10, but what we want to do is, whatever career they would want to choose, they must convince us, they must go research, talk to professionals in that particular career, write an essay, a proposal, and present it to us. If it makes sense, you have made your research, you have made a proposal, you have talked to professionals, and it makes sense, then we'll pay for your studies.
And I think that is, I've never heard something like that actually. I think we tend to focus, even in the different departments, we tend to focus on, when we speak to career guidance, we tend to focus on the last step, which is after matric, tertiary, you are going in. But if we could motivate young people, like you're saying, to immerse themselves, whether as affiliates or joining associations, within that whole career space. Because I think more often, what I've seen, even with my age group, when we got into university, during high school, we would speak about what we would like to become. However, when we get into university, we most of us would get the shock of our lives.
True.
Because now it becomes something totally different, and there's so much more to learn. Whereas had we been aware of how, all the different aspects that are within a specific industry when we're younger, I think young people would actually be better positioned to prepare for their careers. Because, I'm thinking, as the technology changes, so should the modules that we are studying.
Exactly.
And all of that catching up. Speaking to that, actually, do you know anything about CETA and what's happening now with the new developments in the skills development that is coming through? I think it's called QTS something.
Yes.
What are the developments? The reason why I'm asking is because I've always got this burning question that says, but how do we upskill drivers? I know that it's not all about driving, but what does happen to them? How are they encouraged to upskill? Because they spend most of their times on the road. And if you're going to give them a traditional way of upskilling, which is going through the paperwork, cramming or understanding the traditional way of studying, I would imagine it's
quite hard.
Yes, for them to even participate, they think, but why? How do you think is it going to change the way that they are being upskilled, or what are the training modules going to look like? Because I really think that we should look at how we maybe innovate, how we train them.
I honestly even was looking into that space with a certain person to say, I see there's a space for training drivers and even admin staff within the transport space. So online learning, because I was looking at, I'm part of quite a number of, about 4 associations, and the 2 of our learning programs. So I was looking to be part of them, and we're looking at the CETA and so forth. But I decided to put it on hold it's something that one will come back later to it. Because I was looking at exactly that to say, how do we upskill drivers? Because normally when you interact with these companies, right, generally a face would come through of the operations manager, and they say the operations manager was a truck driver, right? And they put this picture out to say that's how we upskill. But generally, how many operations driver managers would we have?
It's one per department.
One per department, if you are a huge organization. But generally, if you have about 50 trucks or 100 trucks and so, less than that, there will be one operations manager. So the question is, the driver to be in admin to a creditor. So where does the creditor person, that a clerk goes? Do they go into management as well? And how do you grow management when some companies want to be lean and stay on 46, 45 trucks? Because if you have 45, 50 trucks, your management will stay like that. You'll have a management that has been management for 20 years. So how does the driver upskill to get to management unless somebody retires or moves to another company? Similarly, with the admin staff, how do they grow from there into management unless? So it's quite a hard space to that is why the owner-driver scheme came in to try to upskill, but then that's been looked into to say, is it really working, or are we putting this driver into debt? They're a slave to this particular company. So people who are learned are looking into that space. So other than upskilling, because there are companies I was part of, we were at a particular platform yesterday talking about BE and so forth. So skills development was the issue. So there are advanced training skills being offered to drivers, right? Or admin. But then the people in the room were saying, that creates an issue, because when you offer me an advanced training program, there's an expectation on my part to say, I'm going to be promoted. So that's being looked at right now. With different people are looking at that, because it's quite a dilemma, to be honest. Because right now, within the skills space, it's you're incorporating women into being drivers, right? That's what they're looking into. And normally the driver would become a driver trainer rather than into admin, right? And a driver trainer then will become some manager in some department. Then they're looking into training people who are not employees, because people were saying, quite big corporates yesterday, are saying, our staff are fatigued with learning programs because it's not amounting to anything. Yes, you have whatever programs that you have gone through, you are trying to upskill your staff, but where does it amount to? So it's a matter of how do we look at it as it shouldn't be a vertical approach to say, once I train a driver, admin staff, then they go into management. Why can't it be skills to say you can start your own company or go to a different industry? It does not necessarily have to be within the logistics space, or it can be in the supply chain space in a different sphere. That's how I look at it.
You're right.
To say, it's not a vertical approach for drivers because it's very limited.
We don't hear much about tires, Tire manufacturing companies are huge. And I think there's some sort of monopolies there. And you hardly hear people saying, that's what I want to go into. And like you were saying, the curtains, the sails, all these different, trucks have got trailers, there's bolts, there's all these windows, there's all these things that I think...
I'm sorry to interject. A month back, there was an expo at, what is it, next to Ellis Park, that area. I forgot the name, but there was a huge expo where Chinese people were here with different parts of components of the truck, of trucks. Huge expo, huge, I think over 2 days. On Tuesday, the Brazilians were here, same thing.
Are you serious?
Same thing. So where are people going to these expos to see opportunities that are coming?
How can we encourage people to you know, it was the same thing with when I think I was attending the BRICS Youth Summit. The young people are just not there. I'm not sure if maybe it's how information is being taken out. I sometimes feel that we're a nation that looks forward to the weekend too much, you know. But that's where the time. I attend a lot of conferences, and that's where the time is to, like you were saying, to go and immerse yourself and, you know, network. How important is networking actually?
It's huge. It's huge. I'm here sitting with you today because of networking.
Oh, yes.
That's why I met you today.
Mm.
So essentially, networking is the key. That's what I tell my learners to say. Meet people who will open doors. They may not specifically open a specific door that you want, but they can open a different door that you never thought of. You may want to be going to the right, but sometimes you go to the left, and in order to go to the right. Life is not a straight line. So networking, it is the same as when you go to Checkers and Pick n Pay and so forth, right? I always say, as the cashier, you don't know who I am, what I'm capable of doing for you. So you may be at 6 o'clock, you are exhausted, I understand. But you giving me that smile, that optimum service can open doors for you. So that's what I always tell my learners to say. The learner next to you, you don't know who's their uncle, who's their father, who's their aunt. You don't know. Get to know them. That's where it starts before you rush to knowing the CEO of whatever.